thank you. Firstly, thank you for the film. Boy Kills World. I caught a little while ago and is currently my favorite film of 2024. It's,
Thank you.
it's sitting at the top of the mantle. It's kind of me in a film, it's got the humor, it's got the violence, it's got, it's got like an interesting story. And I guess, that's what makes this film so special. It's a video game, anime, comic book that has been brought into like gory Technicolor. And I know that this is a project that you've been working on for a number of years, but can you remember what the genesis of the idea for it was, where it all came from?
Yeah, of course. It was 7 years ago, I think around 2016. It was basically five guys here in Berlin wanting to make something that they actually like and care about, and so just join forces to do something cool. And one of the key features is Dave Shatarsky, our action designer, who's just brilliant. And we were like, all right, we're gonna do something that features him and get a cool story around it. And so that was sort of the kickoff. That was the kitchen table meeting that we had, and we're gonna do a trailer, sort of a proof of concept, and see where that leads us.
And then I think I'm right in saying, obviously, you had this, and then you kind of just put all your eggs into one basket and sort of went to LA and tried to find financing for this film. That must have been, pretty
Yeah,
daunting to do.
it was it was actually a friend calling me, going like, "Hey, I'm going to LA for the AFM. I have a couch you could sleep on. Do you want to come with? So I'm not alone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I think I could try and sell the trailer there." So I the trailer wasn't finished by that time, and it was like 2 weeks ahead of the day, and I was like, "All right, we need to wrap this up now." And then we just sort of finished it after a year of working on it, and took the trailer, got there, and had a few meetings set up, which is not a lot if you want to like sell something, because the first place I went to was like, "This trailer is amazing. Do you have a script?" "No, I don't have a script." "Then well, then thank you. I'll see see you when you have a script, maybe." And I was like, "Oh, that did not go well." So, but it's also what everybody told us. "Oh, if you want to sell something, you need a script." And so I was like, bummer. They were right. But yeah, I think 4 days later, I met Sam and Roy Lee, and we kicked it off, and it was without the script. So it's always like the exception from the rule, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, what people to, take on board your first feature, but Sam Raimi, that must have been, pretty, yeah, incredible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you like, you meet so many amazing people that have accomplished like great things, and you have these meetings, and you go like, "Oh yeah, this is like really a big movie." But then you meet somebody like who has really done something that you loved for your entire life, like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and the Spider-Man movies, and then you meet him, and he was a personal hero of mine, so, or still is. So that's just, it was mind blowing. It was like one of the best days of my life when he basically said, "Yeah, we're going to do this." So well, I have a son, so his birthday, but pretty close second. Um,
Yeah. And Boy Kills World debuted at TIFF, but in that version you had Bill doing Boy's narration, but now the final version has got H. John Benjamin. What prompted you to change that up?
uh, TIFF sort of was, we weren't really done with the movie by then. And it took us a long time to get the edit right, and it took us longer than anybody expected, really, and partially probably my fault. And we still sort of tried things out at that point. And when we got back, at that point we had John's voice in, then it was Bill, then it was John, then it became Bill again, and we were sort of really like, "Oh, what's working better? Is it more humor, or is it the more emotional part?" And after the TIFF screening, it became sort of clear that John just works in it better in sort of for the humor.
Mm.
And Bill performed amazingly, like it was great, but John is just this comedy veteran, right? Like for me, everything he says is funny and just or yeah, and it was sort of listening to the people at TIFF, reading some of the reviews, and I'm like, all right, let's go back to that.
I mean, as much as, Bill's not the one doing the narration, like his physical performance is exceptional. I think a lot of people know him from the horror space, but he has kind of been quietly sort of working away within the action genre. He had
Yeah.
a little bit part in Atomic Blonde, then there's John Wick. Obviously, after this film, he's got The Crow. What do you think it is about him that makes him such a good action star?
Well, he first and foremost, he is like an incredible actor, and he has like what's that what's the Tom Holland movie called? The the Devil.
Yes, yeah.
He was amazing in that. That like besides the It movies, that sort of sold me on him. It was like, oh, he's really freaking good. Um and his bit like him becoming sort of an action star was his commitment to it. Like he really, I when I met him, he was just smaller, just like when he hadn't started that, and I was like, so yeah, do you like, do you want to do the action, like are you committed to that, because like there's going to be a bunch of them and you need to really like train, and boy needs to look a certain way, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do that, I love that, I always wanted to do that. And we basically sent a guy to Stockholm to start training with him months and months ahead of the shoot, and he kept on doing that. And then we did the whole prep and all the previous stuff for the action, and he just kept on doing it. And when he sort of first took off his shirt on the first day on set, and I was like, yes, this worked out well. So yeah, it was his commitment to the role, and I I was super impressed by that.
I really like the world building, and the location where you shot, South Africa. It really helps set it apart from a lot of the other sort of dystopian set stories. How did you guys sort of work at crafting this world? Because it's very much its own being.
Yeah, I mean, it was always sort of the thing or the idea that the world was not our world, so sort of just slightly different, like a place where you couldn't really point your finger on, like, oh, is this America? Is this the US? Or is this somewhere in Europe, um, or in Asia? And um, Cape Town sort of is often used to do stuff in the, like, to represent a Western sort of city, but we sort of leaned the other way, and we're like, because it's so like there's so many places in Cape Town that don't look European at all, and we sort of tried to lean into that region, and it was the perfect place to do that. And the people and the team was just amazing, and Mike Berg, our production designer, uh, he just knocked it out of the park. Like he put so much sweat, blood, and tears into that, and he's been such a great collaborator. I couldn't be prouder. And Danielle Knox, who did the costumes, like those two together, basically created this world that is now the world in the movie. So
Yeah, it's like I say, it's very much its own world. It's so rich, and the characters are complex, and so well formed. Do you have plans as to how you might sort of expand this world out should a sequel opportunity arise?
we have lots of ideas. We haven't narrowed it down. I guess it's now up to see how, if people actually want to see a sequel to that, or but there is tons of ideas. Like there is a lot of stories to be told in that world. I don't have anything concrete yet.
No, but
Like,
because obviously, like, even if you didn't like focus on Boy, there's
yeah,
June 27, there's other characters that you see in the background, there's ideas even for prequels for some of the characters in some respect.
yeah,
This is a
exactly. Like there's lots of there's Basho and Benny, and there's Gideon and Hilda, like Rise of Hilda, June's sort of becoming June. How did she become June? And just all these stories that are not told yet, and but sort of they're there, and I guess if we gonna do a sequel in some way, then we have to choose, and it's gonna be hard to choose because there's a lot.
And something I always like to do is I never necessarily watch one film on its own. I always kind of like to like double or triple bill it. What films would you suggest? Would you recommend pairing with Boy Kills World?
That's a good question. That is a good question. Um, my mind goes instantly to the place where it was like, oh, it shouldn't be the same movie.
Mm,
Sort of, it shouldn't be like um, what movies? So I guess if you're going to the theater this week or next week and just watch 3 movies and want your action overdose, just watch Monkey Man,
yeah,
uh, Boy Kills World, and Ungentlemanly Warfare. I mean
yeah,
that's what I would do. Like
yeah. I think and like at home, I pair it with something like Turbo Kid, which I think has that same sort of,
absolutely,
they're kind of similar in tone, but very, very different stories.
absolutely.
But I guess, sort of my final question is, why do you hope that people take a chance on this film at the cinema? I mean, I personally think it is a film that you have to see on a big screen, but why do you hope that people go?
I really think it makes the movie better in a theater because just like having watched it myself a few times now in various stages, um, like the last screening I went to is like there were people laughing and the energy was so great in the room, and I was like, oh my God, I watched this movie 200 times. I'm exaggerating. I watched this movie 100 times probably, and most like 95% of that without any audience, just like collaborators next to me in the room, and everybody goes like, still not perfect. All right, yeah, I like that. So
Mm.
it's hard to enjoy yourself. But then I watched it with an audience recently, and it was just blowing me away, and that was so good, and the energy in the room was great, and so I highly recommend it in a theater because of that. Because just like enjoy yourself together watching a movie and talk about it. That's yeah, that's how almost all the movies are best watched, right? I mean, there are exceptions.
Yeah, this is a great crowd popcorn movie. You want to be cheering together, wincing together. It's definitely got that the communal spirit to it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Cool. Well, I will thank you for your time and wish you the best of luck with the release.
Thank you so much.